Society was extremely instrumental in establishing the historic village out there. If you haven't been, it's tucked away past the tennis courts, but it's intriguing. And we're doing more and more events out there so that you have that sense, first, of the unity between the organizations here in the county, of your history, and of that opportunity for continuing education and for our younger children to see the campus and know that that opportunity is there for them here in the county. To take it a step further, in 2008, when the county commissioners evaluated and knew that the Justice Center was moving forward, the Historical Society approached the county commissioners, and Commissioner Bass was one of those people. And the commissioners responded with a letter of intent to lease this building to us. In 2011, they delivered on that promise. They not only leased to us this building, but the 1910 jail across the street. So you can well imagine that our long-term picture is to have Wright Tavern historic site, to have the museum and archives, the museum proper, and then the archives here as well, and additional exhibits across the street in the jail. We're building a historic complex. When you look at that concept, and of course the museum green next door, some of you remember that as a gravel parking lot. That was all reclaimed, it was seated, and now it hosts the Bateau from Leakesville, one of the beautiful tables from Chinkapin, and a hitching post that was acquired in Chinkapin that actually belongs to Old Salem and goes back to the early 1800s and was built, was cast by a very famous foundry in Philadelphia. It's here for a couple of years to talk about our connection to Salem and Forsyth County, and then it will go and be replaced along with its brothers and sisters on the main street through Salem. That's exciting for us. Now let me just go back a little bit and let you know something that is important for me that you understand in your roles. When the county commissioners leased these buildings to us, they additionally gave us a stipend of $50,000 a year based on their research and things that we could contribute to it relative to the responsibility of the county to maintain their properties at mothball stage. Mothball stage being things like 68 degrees, being things like continuing with repairs, taking care of pipes and HVA systems and that kind of thing. So what the county determined, again with our help, so we can validate this for you, was that it was going to cost $50,000 a year to mothball it. And so without taking any more money out of the taxpayers, from the taxpayers, we were able to use those funds wisely to create an attraction, to recreate, as I spoke of, a venue for education, for community meetings like the one we're having tonight, and numerous other things. You'll see shortly, it's a great place to visit. It's a good place when family comes in, when friends come in from other areas. We're always looking for something interesting to do with them, and this is that type of thing. So, as we, in 2011, the county commissioners, the county awarded us this privilege. So happy. In 10 months, we put in a county-wide, professionally built, authentic, inclusive museum. And that's what you'll see this evening when you go through. Our history is accurate. Our information is helpful. The museum is designed to create relevancy for the county. Throughout, you'll see images, you'll see artifacts, you'll see stories that you can relate to. You'll say, oh, that's so-and-so, or I'm related to this person, or I can tell you about working in tobacco, or any number of things that you might remember. It's important that a museum be relevant. This is not the museum of old, where you went through and saw a few things and maybe had a nice tour guide, but it really wasn't about you. It wasn't about you. And I have to say that this is a community effort. We have built this thanks to community support. Partners we've had like RCC, like the public school system, like the public libraries, like the Reidsville Area Foundation, like the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, the North Carolina Museum Council, and of course the Smithsonian Institution, who came in and before the lease was even executed, saw that we were a good risk. We are one of 6 locations in the state of North Carolina to be granted the opportunity to host this Smithsonian exhibit. When you go out, spread the word. It leaves next Saturday. So there is 1 week remaining for our community to really get to enjoy this. In addition to allowing us to host, we went way outside the box. Never before have they separated the 7 kiosks that make up this traveling exhibit. But we convinced them to do something new. Not to mention we wanted to be a model for the Smithsonian. We want the website spot. We want to be the reference for the next traveling exhibit. They allowed us to break this apart because our plan was to put the kiosks in galleries where the adjacent local exhibits fit with the subject. Now, the advantage to that is we go into a gallery, we see local things, relevant things, and then we see it within the context of the national picture. And this marrying of these two takes our folks and our students from, oh, I know this, saw this growing up, heard my grandparents talk about this, to, oh, look, we were going with the trends of the nation, and sometimes we were going ahead of them. And, you know, this gives you a real sense of who you are. I concur with all the folks that watched this, that were in this video about the importance of history. I would add to it that understanding your history helps you understand yourself. And I think it's vitally important that we create a vehicle for that, and that's what we've done. Phase 1, you're going to see the majority of Phase 1. The remaining pieces of Phase 1 is the education wing and the discovery room. We anticipate having that ready by the first of the year. Phase 2 begins with the archives. We will have a first-class archive. We can't have a museum and archives without those archives. A museum was brought to archives in next year. In 2014, we'll be moving across the street where we'll use the jail to create wonderful exhibits that we can't figure. And you know, many people thought we were going to have all this extra space, but we're running out of space always. There are so many best-kept secrets happening. There are so much history to explore. And there's so many requests from citizens for exhibits that are relevant to them. For example, Civil War and military textile, music. These are the things that folks are asking. We are planning in our town because it's important. This is a unifying place. As Dr. Helming said, this is a new place. And so bring all of these things in and continue to develop the way that we need to reach yourself very important. Let me share that with the exception of the graphic panels on the walls, all the work was done by employing Rockingham County citizens. All of the construction, the historic restoration, all of the lighting, everything. Our gift shop carries locally made things. Art, foodstuffs, textile art, all of these kinds of things. With the exception of branding items, which were purchased through a company here in the county. Again, this is our part for economic uplift. Our plans next year are to add 2 to 3 staff members and hire them here locally. We have experts in this county. We have experts. And sometimes we don't think about that related to the museum field. We have a woman here in the county who worked at the Smithsonian as an archivist. Now, needless to say, we've been having intense talks with her about what we might do relative to the archives and how we move You know I can talk about this all night. But I want to make sure you understand that this is not a stagnant project. These exhibits are not stagnant. They will be refreshed so often that you'll have a reason to come in time after time. It's not a one-stop place. You don't come in once. Kind of like Disney World. You can't see everything in one day. You can't see everything in one visit. So you want to come back again and again. You know, it's so exciting. And I'll continue to talk a little bit about this. I'm concerned about time at this point. And as we go through, you won't hear me be quiet for very long. Our immediate movements forward, I'm very proud to announce, is that next week over 1,200 4th and 8th graders will be going to the museum to ensure that they have an opportunity to see the Smithsonian exhibit. Many of our citizens may never have the chance to go to Washington, D.C. and enjoy something of this quality. So we're really excited, and when you divvy up the numbers, it means we have 270 students per day for 5 consecutive days between the hours of 9 and 1:30. When you see me on the streets the week after next, be nice to me. I may be stumbling around in a million directions. And then just before we go through, let me just share our hours. Again, we're outside the box. Our hours are 2 to 8 p.m. We want our families to be able to visit in the evenings. We want volunteers that are holding full-time jobs in the county but have this interest to be able to come in and work some volunteer hours and have camaraderie with us and share their interest. And just, you know, we want to make sure, typically museums are 10 to 4. We didn't want to do it that way. And so we're excited. If you are a member, you always get in free. If you're a family member and you have 6 children and a husband and your grandmother in the same household, the whole family gets in free. The rates are extremely low. We understand the economic challenges of this county. If you are not a member, admission starts at $5 for adults and works its way down with seniors and students, and then 14 and under, 4 through 14 at $250. But we put a $20 cap per family. People can't take their kids to McDonald's. They can't take them out to the movies for $20, but they can bring them all to the museum for $20. And you pick, you know, it's Thursday night, you don't think you're going to make it through the week. Pick the kids up at daycare, you come on over to the museum. First you'll go through Wendy's upstairs, right, like we did tonight, and then come on over to the museum. And we have seen this work. We have been open since August 11, fortuitously, 45 years to the day that the Historical Society was incorporated, and we didn't determine the opening date. The Smithsonian told us when they would bring in. So it's very serendipitous. It's almost a signpost that it's the right thing to do. So having said all those things, do you have any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I know you say you've been here 2 years.
I have.
You say yes?
I have.
Okay. This used to be a family residence. Do you know what family that owned it?
The courthouse?
This house right here. Used to be a family lived in here.
No, I don't know the answer to that. Tell me more.
Okay.
You'll have to come visit and share that history with us.
But okay. But
It's hard to imagine.
This used to be a family residence.
That's very interesting.
No.
Very
That's what I
interesting. Thank you
understood
for sharing
when I
that.
first came here to Rockingham County.
Well, thank you for sharing that to me. I'm
I
going
thought
to
you-
investigate. I'm going to go to the back for a minute.
Everybody in here may know the answer to this. Chinquapin, is there not anything that Rockingham County can do to anything?
Well, I'll tell you what we did. We had a group of anonymous donors who had supported the outfit already, and we asked them to go and see if they could save some of that history. We have a great number of artifacts that reflect not necessarily the art that Jeff and Betsy brought in, but moreover represent their contribution to the community in other ways. And their travels on the way to bring that artifact. That exhibit will open in October. We will shut down for a couple of weeks after the Smithsonian leaves because we have to reorder exhibits and because we need to bring refreshed ones in. Chinquapin And the coffin on the 3rd floor will be our 2 new exhibits to get folks excited. So then relative to, if there's anything we can do relative to the Phelps and the litigation that's going on right now, there's not a thing we can do. These are courts, these are courts that are operating on a wholly different level. And this is about
That's been the
dollars.
most heartbreaking thing,
You
I
know,
think, for so many people here.
I have had folks come in and cry. I have had folks tell me about going there when the Penns were there to watch movies
Mhm.
in their theater, going there for parties. I have such a sense of the Penns, you know, inviting folks. I mean, they're Rockingham County people. Now, of course, Betsy wasn't, but as we know from the 4-H Center and all the things that she was involved in, she embraced this community, these families and these children. And you know, our contractor on the building, Cy Rothrock, tells about going out there with his friends to swim, you know, and how welcoming they were. So what we can preserve are some artifacts to prompt memories and some stories, and make sure our archives have adequate documents and photos so that that will not be lost. That's about what we can do at this point. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I don't remember if you said specifically, to what extent is this marked entity financially self-sustaining? Is it currently
It's a good
financially
question.
self-sustaining, and is that the goal for it to be on a continuing basis self-sustaining?
Museums are almost never self-sustaining. They depend on funding from local people, and they depend on funding that's been allocated by state and federal government for these things.
Will the budget for for MARC be included as a separate line item? Is it included as a separate line item on the financial